It is so fulfilling representing the commission, and then to be approached by young women who see me and they can see themselves, in these leadership positions.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Trailblazing Women. I'm Sandra Mass, and my guest today is the ultimate champion for women. Dr. Alisha Wilkins chairs the California Commission on the Status of Women and Girls. She was appointed by Governor Jerry Brown back in 2014 and has chaired for the past 2 years. She is the owner and founder of Hera Hub Temecula, a co-working space and business accelerator for women. Dr. Wilkins, who has a PhD in industrial and organizational psychology, has spent the past 18 years working in government and community relations to support nonprofits, including Planned Parenthood, where she was instrumental in landmark legislation to protect women's reproductive rights. She is a married mother of 2 grown sons and one very busy lady. So happy to meet you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
You know, Alisha, there's so much that I want to ask you about your journey to the top and all the successes that you have had and the trials and tribulations along the way. And I will be asking you about that. But what's happening right now in America and the racism that we are seeing played out on our streets is painful to watch. It's heart-wrenching. It's horrifying. And it really is an opportunity for all of us to talk about the elephant in the room, racism. I'm wondering, as a Black woman who has experienced racism, I know yourself, what are you thinking right now about the place that we're in?
Yeah. You know what? I was just recently asked by a colleague, what are some of the things that I have to do as an African American woman to navigate myself through the world on a daily basis? And I thought about it, and in a given day, I actually was sending my son off to his back to college. He's a student at the University of Arizona and just graduated, and so he needed to pack up his college apartment. And I said, while you're there, can you get a bumper sticker that says University of Arizona alumni? And it's not because I was just a proud mom. It's because I thought perhaps if he was pulled over, that cops would actually see that alumni sticker and it would humanize him. Right. In addition to that, that same day, I actually was going to the hardware store, and I had my sorority T-shirt on, and and I decided to wrap my SDSU sweatshirt around my waist, which says SDSU alumni on it. And I did that because I thought that perhaps it would lessen the likelihood that I'd actually be followed around the store, because that by store security, because that happens to me too. As I left the store after making my purchase, I sat in my car and was responding to a number of text messages. There was a point in time when I said, "Ooh, I need to wrap this up because I don't want my presence there to cause suspicion and have people think, oh, what is she doing in this? She's been sitting in her car for a very long time." And then I took my items and went to my business where I pay rent. And I was bringing my items in, and I, intentionally, kind of walked with, a lot of air of confidence and purpose, like I was supposed to be there, because I was concerned that someone might actually see me in my casual dress on a weekend walking into my business and say, oh, I wonder if she's taking things away. Is she stealing things from that business? That same day, shortly after this, I actually went to gas up at a local gas station, and I saw, a white man that was, getting gas as well. And I purposefully, smiled at him at a time when my heart was just really aching, because of, the situation that's happening all across the country, the protest against, the police brutality that has occurred. But I still smiled at him because I didn't want to appear vile. And all of those things actually happened within a 2-hour time frame. So those are just examples of the type of things that we as African Americans, in order to, try to stay safe, those are like the landmines that we're constantly, trying to avoid just in our regular day-to-day lives.
And you are such an accomplished woman, with so much going for you and so much power, and yet you still feel that way. It's nothing new under the sun for you.
Right.
For
Right.
a lot of white America, it's a big wake up call to
Right.
us. And I guess that's, people like me wonder, what can I do to make
Mm-hmm.
a difference and to be part of the solution? Because clearly we're all part of the problem.
Right, right. And that's a really good question. And what I ask of, my white allies is to be a true ally and take action. First of all, have frank discussions about race, especially with people that look like you, because it's more likely to resonate if it's coming from someone that looks like them, right? If it's me, I'm, just playing the black card, or I'm just complaining. But if it comes from someone that looks just like them, they're more likely to listen to it. The other thing is to, stand by our side when we're trying to fight against racism. There for a long time, people were, waving the banner of Black Lives Matter, but our people that considered themselves our allies weren't there in the fight. And so, definitely stand by us, because it's tiring. It's definitely tiring. And then the other thing is to hold candidates accountable, for having a racial justice platform, by, making sure that when you're that you're researching those candidates, and that you're supporting them with your dollars, that you're supporting them by knocking on doors, that you're supporting them with your vote. And so those are the things that I ask of my allies.
A very good friend of mine, a girlfriend who is Black, a
Hmm.
businesswoman, young businesswoman, she said, you can't be silent. Everybody has to use
Yes.
their voice. They can't give people a pass when they see
Hmm.
racism in society. When Uncle Bob says something inappropriate at the dinner table, you have to
Right.
call him on that, because silence is
Exactly.
part of the problem.
Yes, yes. And we have to get comfortable with having uncomfortable discussions. Otherwise, when we don't, what happens is what we're seeing right now. It gets, just like with any kind of problem, if you continue to deny it, all of a sudden you find it just, slapping you in the face.
Hmm. What about organizations that people can support, that you can recommend, that, or places to go where people can learn more about racism and race in general?
hmm You know what? I continue to be a huge proponent of, the work that the NAACP is doing. And, that the organization has been in existence for a really long time, and it's continued to, do work on racial justice and equality. And the work hasn't stopped just because the 1960 marches weren't occurring. The work continued, and now is, there's no better time than the present for our allies to actually become members of that organization. A lot of people think of it as a Black organization, but actually it's not. It was actually started by our Jewish brothers and sisters, and and all races are welcome to be a part of it, and I highly encourage it.
Alicia, you are the mother of two sons. What are you telling them right now? What are you saying to them?
hmm You know, and that's probably been the most difficult thing for me, period, even more so than just my own challenges that I've had dealing with it. It is one of the most difficult things to have those conversations with your Black sons. Just recently, my son and I actually um, were in a conversation shortly after seeing the Ahmaud Arbery assassination, and my son, just like Ahmaud, is a runner as well, and he goes running in our very suburban, predominantly white neighborhood. And he actually said, "Mom, I'm actually scared to go running today." And you know, it was because he saw, and granted, he knew that this type of thing existed, but Ahmad was only 2 years older than him. And so it really just, you know, it cut like a knife to see that. And I felt very powerless. Like there was just nothing that I could do to, you know, soothe his concerns. And I actually, you know, got in the shower and I just bawled like a child after hearing him say that. And then on top of it, feeling so powerless. And so that's why we need our allies more so than ever, you know, to stand with us to fight against these injustices.
And you have come such a long way. You are so accomplished, and your life wasn't always this way. You grew
No.
up in Southeast San Diego, a very underserved part of
Mhm.
the city, with a single mom and
Yeah.
siblings, and a high school counselor that refused to give you a letter of recommendation for college. You
Yes.
experienced racism early on.
Yes. Yes. And, you know, just like you said, my college counselor at my local high school in San Diego, he didn't think that students of color should go to college, and actually wouldn't write a letter of recommendation for me. I actually ended up getting another counselor who wasn't my assigned counselor to write a letter of recommendation, and I'm actually still very good friends with this particular counselor. And Yeah, but it's something that I experienced, and I distinctly remember you know, subsequently going to SDSU and sitting in class and being the only African American person in that classroom, and looking around and thinking to myself, wow, I wonder how many other people who he didn't write letters of recommendation for, who should be sitting in this class with me right now, that aren't.
Well, you have been paying it forward ever since. You got a bachelor's degree, you got a master's degree, and a PhD in
hmm
organizational psychology, and you are paying it forward now as an advocate, a huge advocate for women, getting appointed to a state commission by Governor Jerry Brown in 2014 to be on the commission on the status of women and girls in California.
hmm hmm
What was it like to get that call, and how did that come to be?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was really exciting. And what's even more exciting is the fact that I was just recently reappointed by Governor Gavin Newsom. So I will be on the commission for another 4 years, which will give me an opportunity to continue to serve as an advocate for women and girls across the state on really important issues like the educational needs of women and girls, as well as gender in the workplace. You know, we've done a lot of work on pay equity, on the health and safety of women and girls, as well as a specific segment of the population, women in the military, women veterans and military families. So while I have quite a long history of working on women's issues, I now get an opportunity to expand the issues that I work on, and I'm really excited to be able to do that.
Which must be so satisfying to you. I was looking on on your website, the commission's website, and you were talking about pay equality or
Mm-hmm.
inequality, and it really is something that impacts women of color. Over a 40-year career, Black women lose Almost $1 million to the wage gap.
And then when you take into consideration that women have a tendency to live longer than men, then at the end of, towards the end of our lifetime, we have less income to sustain us. So it ends up being a huge, huge problem.
Your work with the first partner,
Hmm.
Governor Gavin Newsom's wife, Jennifer Newsom,
Yeah.
to help women achieve equal pay. You've been going out all over the state and
Mhm.
really promoting that cause. Why is it so important?
Hmm. You know what? When I think about the fact that, women only make, 70 cents to every dollar that a man makes. And then when you think about the fact that women, Black women, it's even less. It's like 60 cents to every dollar. And for Latinos, it's even worse. It's 40 cents to every dollar. That's a huge, huge problem, and it's something that we need to address. And so one of the ways that we've addressed it was by the creation of a resource to help individual and to help employees to be able to know what their rights are and what steps that they can need to take in order to address some of those pay inequities, especially if they're in, working for someone where they feel like they're experiencing that.
Working with young girls is also a priority of the commission, and I know that you're really big on STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts,
Arts.
and mathematics. I got it.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Um, and it must be very satisfying to you to reach out to these young women and knowing your struggle to get where you are, seeing them and knowing that you really serve as a role model for them. What's that?
Yeah, yeah. It's, you know what, I get more inspired by them than they probably do by me. But I have to say, it is so fulfilling representing the commission out in the community, and then to be approached by young women who see me and they can see themselves, in these leadership positions. They're like, whoa, if she did it, then maybe I can. And that just means the world to me.
You are an entrepreneur and also the founder and owner of Hera Hub Temecula, which is a workspace for women. What's
Yeah,
going on there? How's that?
being able to come into a co-working space, it really helps with having discipline. It helps for be more productive. We've assessed a number of our members, because this is actually the eighth location. There's three locations down in San Diego County. There's another in Irvine, Phoenix, DC, and Uppsala, Sweden. And so we do annual assessments, and um, our members say that they see a huge increase in their productivity when they're able to come in here. And then, two, if they're moms, it helps them to be much more present when they are actually at home.
I think people would be interested in knowing about your role in championing reproductive rights and when you worked at Planned Parenthood and some very important legislation that was passed several years ago in
Yeah.
California. Tell us about that.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yes, I was a part of the public affairs team in the state of California, which successfully passed SB 1301 by then Senator Sheila Kuehl, which is the Reproductive Privacy Act. This bill ensures that um, termination services will continue to be available to women in the state of California, even if Roe versus Wade were overturned. So yeah, yeah.
When you were growing up and moving through the trenches, who did you rely on? Who did you look up to?
You know what? It wasn't until recently that I truly began to think on that and reflect on the fact that it really is my mom, who has served as a major role model in my life. As you mentioned before, she raised us, my brother and I, as a single mom in East San Diego. And one of the things that she always did was ensure that we had exposure to different things. I mean, like the San Diego Symphony and, just things that a lot of inner city youth didn't necessarily have access to. And it really broadened my horizons, and it inspired me to want more, to do more. And I really appreciate her for that. I was tap dancing when I was, a kid, things like that, exposure to things like that. And so I'm a huge proponent of exposure to different experiences for youth.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
It has been such a pleasure talking to you. And
Thank you.
I think I'm more hopeful now after speaking with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was great speaking to you as well.
For more information about current legislation affecting women and some great resources, check out the California Commission on the Status of Women and Girls website at women.ca.gov. And thank you so much for joining us on this latest trailblazing journey. For the Women's Museum of California, I'm Sandra Mass. We'll see you next time.